Christina Applegate has been a successful working actor in Hollywood for more than 40 years. She was first catapulted into the spotlight in 1987 with her breakout role on Married with Children. In the years since, she has starred in dozens of films, headlined more television shows, and been nominated for Tonys, Golden Globes, and Emmys. But with all those accolades and beloved performances to her name, nothing quite compares to Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead. People come up to me and say, "Of all the things you've done, Don't Tell Mom is my favorite," Applegate told BuzzFeed News. "Its popularity is the most shocking to me of anything I've done." Much of her disbelief stems from the initial response to the 1991 black comedy, in which Applegate starred as Sue Ellen, a recent high school graduate who is forced to spend her summer working incognito as an adult after the elderly babysitter caring for her and her 4 younger siblings dies while their mother is on vacation. Don't Tell Mom opened in 6th place at the box office and garnered some truly scathing reviews. But, unlike so many other critically panned films, Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead, which mixed elements of Risky Business, Home Alone, Working Girl, and The Secret of My Success, would not die. Instead, it found a much more receptive audience through VHS rentals and seemingly endless HBO airings. In the 33 years as of 2024 since its release, the oft-quoted film, "Right on top of that, Rose, the dishes are done, man. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Katrina," has achieved full-fledged cult status and become one of the most beloved comedies of a generation. Writers Neil Landau and Tara Eisen first came up with the idea for Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead in the mid-'80s, says Landau. "I always loved Risky Business, and the original inspiration was, what if the parents went out of town and instead of the kids destroying everything, they got their shit together? If anybody underestimated them, what if they actually were able to function in the adult world because they were forced to? And what would the ramifications of that be?" The idea percolated for a while before Landau and Eisen completed a first draft of the script in 1987. At that time, the movie was called The Real World, and the screenwriters envisioned an actor like Winona Ryder in the starring role. The dark, twisted script became the subject of a bidding war, with multiple studios looking to produce the story of a young girl thriving in corporate America. In the end, the then titled The Real World ended up at 20th Century Fox and was set to star Justine Bateman, hot off Family Ties. But when she wound up leaving the project for undisclosed reasons, the script sat on the shelf for a while. Before it was put away, though, The Real World had already been through some of the rewriting process, and Landau and Eisen weren't exactly thrilled with the results. The original idea from the original script was that the babysitter was a nice old lady, and she just dropped dead, Landau said. But everybody, except for us, felt that, for the teen audience, the babysitter had to be really mean, because if she was a nice lady, it would be sad. So the mean babysitter who blows a whistle and barks commands, which is sort of funny, that was something we were forced to do and didn't like. Fox also asked that the screenwriters up the number of Sue Ellen's siblings from 2 to 4, cut an entire subplot in which Sue Ellen accidentally kills Rose's cat, make Sue Ellen smarter with how she hides the missing petty cash, and build out Sue Ellen's work world. The whole point was we had no idea what the company did, but more importantly, Sue Ellen had no idea what the company did, said Landau. Fox thought it was important we specify what the company is. First, it was a vitamin company, then it was a book company. Drafts after drafts of different companies. Eventually, the nondescript workplace became General Apparel West, a company that manufactured sports uniforms, which play a major role in the film's iconic climax. The project lay dormant until 1989, when an executive at Outlaw Productions discovered the script and fell in love with it, for the most part. They thought the script needed some work, but wanted to produce it, Landau recalled. But given the many changes that had already been made to the screenplay at Fox, Outlaw suggested only a few tweaks, including an important one that brought the film's two worlds together. In the original script, Brian wasn't Caroline's brother, Landau revealed, of Sue Ellen's love interest and workplace nemesis, respectively. They wanted there to be higher jeopardy at the office. With the script in solid shape, it became time to find the movie's most crucial element, Sue Ellen. And they discovered her on Married with Children. One of the producers at Outlaw was very friendly with Ed O'Neill, Landau recalled. He said, "I can get the script to Christina Applegate, who we heard was interested." So, the producer went to a taping of Married with Children. O'Neill handed the script to Applegate, and the rest fell into place. "I like the idea of this teenager having to parent her siblings," Applegate recalled. "I love movies with a catharsis and lessons and someone who changes in the end and learns about themselves. So I thought, let's do this." With a star on board, Outlaw looked to HBO, which was actively producing theatrical films at the time, for funding. The premium cable company agreed to finance the movie, which, unbeknownst to everyone involved, would become an essential component to the film's eventual success. And Stephen Herrick, who had just finished Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, was hired to direct, much to Landau's consternation. "We liked him personally, but were worried the movie would get dumbed down or too silly. In our highfalutin perception of the script, we wanted to do something more like Working Girl and have it be a smart teen comedy. But we were also told that with Stephen Herrick attached to direct and Christina Applegate starring, we would have a green light. So we decided to get the movie made." The next order of business was to fill out the cast, so producers turned to Sharon Bialy, who had previously helped cast Blue Velvet, Child's Play, Say Anything, and Drugstore Cowboy. You have to go off your instinct and belief in an actor, that they have a quality that's so special for that role that they elevate the material, if and when needed. "I remember fighting for David Duchovny," she said, of the actor who would play Bruce, Caroline's boyfriend / right-hand man, in attempting to expose Sue Ellen's real age. And eventually Fox Mulder on The X-Files. "He'd done nothing. I remember somebody said to me he didn't feel like a smart guy, and I remember saying, he went to Harvard." For Duchovny, the film was memorable for two reasons. It was maybe the first or second job I got here when I moved out to Los Angeles, and I remember I had this really bad hairdo. Bialy also had a feeling about Josh Charles, who was coming off a dramatic turn in Dead Poets Society. I love to take actors who are known in one genre and put them in another. I think this town pigeonholes actors all the time. One of the creative things you can do as a casting director is, when you know something else about that actor, is take that quality and really exploit it. Then, at Landau's suggestion, Joanna Cassidy, who had previously appeared in Blade Runner and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, was tapped to play Rose Lindsay, Sue Ellen's passionate and slightly unhinged boss at General Apparel West. I just read the script and thought it was funny. I could visualize it. I could see this boss. She was a woman that fell in love with everything. She fell in love with her people. She fell in love with the fabric. She fell in love with everything. That is just the kind of woman she was. It was all gorgeous. It was all beautiful, and she wanted it all to work. She really did. Unless I'm doing really, really serious things, I don't ever want to go to the hard side of something. Because I feel that what's very important is you have to love these characters. As wicked as they are, there's gotta be something that makes them lovable. Next on the casting to-do list was the role of Kenny, Sue Ellen's younger brother, who transforms from pot-smoking slacker to responsible burgeoning chef over the course of the film. Keith Coogan, who had already starred on dozens of TV shows, came in to audition, but not for the role he was truly interested in. I asked who was playing the 15-year-old brother and was told I was too old. Coogan was 20 at the time. So I was reading for the Josh Charles role, but had just played the brother in Love with the Babysitter, 1987's Adventures in Babysitting. So I was like, let's change it up. In a twist of fate, Coogan discovered an unexpected familiarity with the role of Kenny. The timing was weird because a friend of mine and I had been messing around with a video camera, filming this little cooking sketch we had about two stoners who could barely get through grilled cheese sandwiches. It was like I had been working on the character before I even knew it existed. We had taped the first one 2 weeks before the first audition for the movie, so I had the torn jeans, a skull vest, $15 wigs. They were terrible looking. Maybe that's why I was drawn to him. After his audition for Brian did not go well, Coogan went to his car, put on the stoner costume, and barged back into the audition room. I kicked the door open and was like, all right, who's in charge here? I was just Kenny. The producers were like, yeah, you got this. The Crandle family was rounded out with Conchetta Tomei as the absentee mother, Robert Gorman as the TV-obsessed youngest sibling, Walter, Christopher Pettiott as the lovelorn middle child, Zach, and Danielle Harris as tomboy, Melissa. With the cast locked in, production began in and around Los Angeles during the summer of 1990, and it soon became clear to everyone on set just how much of a star Applegate was going to be. Coogan, who was friendly with Applegate because they ran in similar young Hollywood actor circles, found himself continually impressed by the level of dedication she brought to the role. I don't want to denigrate anything anybody else did, but that is her movie from top to bottom, beginning to end. She nailed every single setup and made it all work. Even when the movie doesn't work, she makes it work. She worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2.5 months. Establishing that familial tone also turned the 5 young actors playing the Crandle kids into a tight-knit brood, both on set and off. Danielle Harris, who played Melissa, recalls, "We all became like siblings. We played together and hung out together. Christina, I just wanted to be her. I looked up to her and loved her clothes. We connected as the only girls on set with a bunch of boys. And I had the biggest crush on Christopher, who played Zach. I would do anything to be with him, to kiss him, but he was in love with Christina, so it was really hard. Christopher Petiot passed away of an accidental overdose in 2000 at the age of 24. Of his passing, Applegate said, "I was really close with Christopher, which is really sad for me every time I think about that. He was a really special, special young man. Dark and twisty inside, which I gravitate towards. I loved him. I really did. It's the saddest thing that could ever happen. God rest his soul." When production on the film, then still titled The Real World, wrapped in the fall of 1990, the now iconic MTV reality series of the same name was about to debut, forcing the film to find a new title. The studio hired several marketing companies, and after several focus groups, they landed on Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead. Initially, everyone involved in the film hated the title. However, writer Landau now disagrees. "I really think it's part of what elevated it into cult status. It's such a provocative title." It's impossible to ever know for certain what transforms a movie into a cult classic. From Rocky Horror Picture Show to Clue, there's no commonality between all the films to earn this distinction. But those involved with Don't Tell Mom have their own theories. For some, the film's enduring appeal is that it's naively aspirational. As Danielle Harris said, "It was like every kid's dream to have their mom go away and have the entire summer without parents or babysitters and be an adult for a minute." And that's the moral of the story. Every kid thinks they want to be grown up, but when they are grown up, all they want is to be a kid. For others, Don't Tell Mom continues to resonate because of the idea that anyone can turn things around. "I think people could really relate to Sue Ellen," Applegate said. "She was kind of pissed off, not participating in her family so much. She was relatable to a lot of teenagers who feel like the burden of the world is on them. They're so dramatic about everything, and I think in her success, there's hope. These characters give kids hope, and I think that's thematically what you walk away from it, believing and sensing and seeing." Whether Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead eventually clicked because of its snappy one-liners, indelible performances, inescapable cable airings, or a combination of all of those elements, Landau's frustrations over rewrites, retitles, and reviews have long been eclipsed by a sense of pride. "I was at a Christmas party, and a big producer was introducing me to someone as the guy who wrote Don't Tell Mom," Landau recalled. "The guy's reaction was so over the top that I thought he was teasing me. 'Oh my God, you wrote that?' This crowd formed around me who were just in awe of the fact I wrote that movie, which was, honestly, pretty hilarious. It's still weird. It's like somebody put a magic spell on America, and they were somehow forced to love this movie." So, tell me, viewers, were you a preteen or teenager when this film came out? Did its dark title remind you of the books you were reading at the time, like My Babysitter is a Vampire or My Teacher is an Alien? Please sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching, and good night.